Mason Choate is with us here on Halftime. He is one of the two hosts of the Diamond Hogs podcast, which is part of the Hit That Line network. Mason, you thought you and Robert would get scot-free by doing the show in the visiting booth at O'Brate Stadium. Nope. This is your payback for us, man, so I appreciate you joining us today. How are you?
I'm doing great, Phil. Look, if this is how I have to pay rent to record in your radio station or your radio booth, then I'm down to do that every week.
Well, there really wasn't much room for to do it anywhere else, right? The press accommodations I think at O'Brate were pretty good. I have a feeling it's a little smaller and not quite as much room at Beauchemin Stadium, where everyone else is going to be taking up for the next few days. I want to ask you, I wonder if there's going to be a change in the plan of how Arkansas pitches this weekend. And it's because of what we just saw last weekend in the Stillwater Regional. Like, they've had Brady Tygart closing almost all year long, and he's done a really good job doing it. But when Tygart had run out of, I think he was tired after pitching back-to-back days, and he was mostly ineffective. To have Hagen Smith close that game, I think opened a lot of people's eyes. And we've heard Dave and Matt even talk about the idea that Tygart probably is a starting pitcher moving forward as he continues as a sophomore and a junior. I just kind of wonder if the roles might change a little bit this weekend. Not that Brady will start, but that Hagen is going to come out in the pen, and you may end up getting a chance for Smith to close instead of Tygart.
Yeah, I think that you're definitely going to see Connor Nolan on Saturday, first game. But then after that, if you're looking at a starting pitcher, I don't know if it's Hagen Smith anymore. I don't know if it's not going to be Jackson Wiggins game 2, I don't think. And maybe you're looking at Zach Morris again. I think that he did a great job on Monday. If you can get 3 or 4 innings out of Zach Morris, get to the bullpen, then I think you're looking really good, especially because if you get what you get out of Connor Nolan, what you expect out of him, like what he got from Grand Canyon, 7 innings, then you're not going to be throwing a lot of bullpen guys on Saturday, so that opens it up to where, you can get 3 or 4 innings out of Zach Morris on Sunday and then bring in some guys out of the bullpen, whether it's Brady Tygart or maybe you close it down again with Hagen Smith. I don't know, but I think that the way things went on Monday really opens up a lot of possibilities. And I think now, we all know it is postseason baseball, so you really just go with whatever is working at the time. And right now, that's what we saw work most recently against one of the hottest lineups in the country in Oklahoma State.
Well, right now it seems Arkansas might be one of the hotter lineups too, man. They've shown the ability to put up big numbers, and that was an issue, I think, at times. We've seen 5-run innings, 6-run innings, 4-run innings, 8-run innings. They're doing it with power, stringing together base hits. And I know you're facing a pretty good pitching staff in North Carolina. I think they rely heavily on their bullpen and a number of relievers, not just 1 or 2 or 3. But, you finally have the sense that for a team that we've been waiting, and openly they've said, we've been waiting to get the offense clicking. We're waiting to get it going. Man, they got it going now finally, and it's at the right time.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I was talking with Andrew Hutchinson from hogbeat.com this morning was, well, do you do anything to change the lineup? Because, we've watched it. Zach Gregory, he's been struggling a little bit at the plate. But, I don't see a reason for Dave Van Horn to mess with this lineup after the way it did last weekend. And North Carolina, they didn't have a pitcher who was on any of the all-ACC teams. Yeah, they've got some talented guys, and you're right. They rely heavily on their bullpen. And I think that one good thing about North Carolina is they got a lot of righties. They have some lefties that can come in and pitch. Brandon Schaefer, their Game 2 starter, he's a left-hander. But I feel like there's more of the guys that they throw are right-handers, the guys that they really rely on. And so I think that we all know Arkansas struggles against left-handers. So if you can do well against the left-handers that they're going to throw for sure, like Brandon Schaefer, Sean Rapp, those guys, and then you can get to the righties that they normally rely on, I think that bodes well for the Hogs.
Now, Mason, one of the biggest things that these two teams kind of have in common, you kind of look back at their schedule. North Carolina themselves, they started off real hot. They won 17 in their first 20. They won their first ACC series, and then they really hit the skids. And they finished 15-15 in ACC play, and then caught fire in the tournament and have kept it going. While Arkansas, was riding the roller coaster pretty well up and then hit the bottom and now seems to be having it back. What was the main difference that you saw, maybe outside of statistics? Because you were there in Hoover, you were there in Stillwater, and obviously you're there in Chapel Hill for this weekend series. What was the main difference that you saw just in person, difference from Hoover to Stillwater?
I think in Hoover we saw a team. I don't know. It was just like low energy. There was drama. Dave Van Horn, he had his sickness where he got food poisoning. So I feel like that outside stuff was really hurting them. And I mean, you could hear it in the post game press conference. We all know what Michael Turner said. And I think that week off between Hoover and Stillwater, they were able to get rest. Michael Turner, a guy who he's been sitting there behind the plate all year. He's tired. He's exhausted. He got a week's worth of rest. And I mean, you could see it out there. He was playing on a different level. This whole team was playing on a different level. And I think that if you just think about it, I mean, this is Dave Van Horn coaching this team. He's got a lot of postseason coaching experience. I feel like he knows what to say to those guys to get them in a different mindset. And in Stillwater, I think that, I don't know, they were just playing with a different energy. They were hitting the ball well. They were celebrating more. Defensively, they were playing really well. You could tell that they fed off of some of those defensive plays, especially on Monday. I mean, there were like 3 or 4 web gems, and they just fed off of that. And it transitioned into more offense. And so if you can continue to have like that pitching where you can get the clutch strikeouts and you can get the big plays, Caden Wallace making a barehander, Chris Lanzilli slide in, making a catch in right field, like those things, they carry over to the offense. And I feel like they weren't really having a whole lot of that. It felt like earlier on in Hoover against Alabama, the games were kind of just dragging on. And it was like, well, when are we going to see Arkansas get a hit? And now it's like, when are we going to see Arkansas not get a hit, I guess? It just feels like you're starting to expect them to do well when previously you were expecting them to go up and go 3 up, 3 down.
Mm-hmm. And with the excitement that's come with Stillwater, and this question gets asked, every single year when you enter postseason play, what really determines a good season? At this point, if they were, say, to, drop 2 out of 3 to North Carolina this week, and hopefully that doesn't happen. We're all rooting for them to be in Omaha, Nebraska next week. But if that were to happen, how would you categorize this season? Was it good? Was it pretty good, great, or was it just okay?
I think I just have to look at that from the current perspective, because if I look at it from a preseason perspective, I think that, there were a lot of expectations for this team, especially after the way last season ended. So, but if I think of it from 2 or 3 weeks ago, where people were saying this team wouldn't make it out of the regional, then yeah, it's a success. It's a good season that they made it to a super regional, and if they can win a game in a super regional, then that is definitely a success. But I think right now, the ultimate goal, as always, is to make it to Omaha. That's what you consider a success, is if you get to Omaha. Realistically, you want to win a championship, but college baseball is a little different, I feel like, because if you get to Omaha, that's just, you made it. And then if you win the championship, it's, good for you. You won the championship. But I don't know. I feel like Omaha is normally the goal. And I think that Arkansas has a clear path for that. And, of course, if they make it to Omaha, that's a success.
Do you think they played their best baseball? I mean, I thought I saw on Monday they came pretty darn close. Just the thing that had shaken me a little bit near the end of the season, Mason, was that there were some problems in the field, some fundamental things that you didn't see go wrong that went wrong, in Vanderbilt series, Alabama series, and in Hoover. You didn't see that in the regional, man. I mean, they might have had a couple of innings here and there where the first game against Oklahoma State where it wasn't a very fundamentally sound-looking team, but what I saw on Monday, I saw fundamentals and then some. I mean, some of the best fielding that they've put together all year, and I really think there's a difference from Arkansas's incredibly good defense and a good fielding team like North Carolina, because Arkansas saves more runs, I think, defensively than people understand.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, for most of the season, Arkansas was, they hung their hat on their defense and their starting pitching. And, of course, down the stretch, that was a little bit of a different story, but this is still a really talented defensive team. I mean, Robert Moore, he's a big league first baseman. Caden Wallace, I mean, he throws the ball 95 miles an hour from third base over to first base. He's insane. And then, I mean, we heard from Dave Van Horn before the year that Braden Webb was the best defensive center fielder that he's had at Arkansas, and that's saying a lot because of some of the names that he's had. And I think that you're right, Phil. Monday was probably as close to their best baseball as you'll see. I think that's the potential that this team has. And, what I really liked was the way they pieced together the pitching. Zach Morris as a starter didn't give up a run. Cole Ramage came in and gave up 3 runs, but he does a great job of damage control. He could have given up more. Vermillion, they got the normal 1 inning out of him, and then we talked about it, Hagen Smith, 2 innings of no-hit ball. If you can get that, if you can piece together those pitchers the right way, like they did on Monday, I mean, this team's not going to lose a whole lot of games moving forward. And I think that you talk about Arkansas baseball, and you come into this season, the expectation is Omaha. I think this is a roster that can make it to Omaha, and I think we can all agree that they have not played to their potential for most of the year. And Phil, you kind of mentioned it, but they're starting to play to that potential that we expect. And the big question is, can they keep it going? Because we've seen it at times throughout the year, and then it'll drop off. Like the Auburn series, and then they lose to Vanderbilt, and they lose to Alabama. And then you go into the regional, and here they are again. This is the Arkansas team that you're expecting. So it's really just what team is going to show up in Chapel Hill.
Mm-hmm. All right, Mason, let's look at the team that the Razorbacks are going to be playing, the North Carolina Tar Heels. And when you look at just some of their numbers, I mean, one of the biggest things that jumps off at the page at you is 100 total home runs on the season through the regionals. The guy who leads them is Vance Honeycutt. How big of a difference is the long ball going to be this weekend? Is it going to be the team with the most home runs ultimately wins?
I think that would be good for Arkansas because Arkansas lives by the home run and dies by the home run. So Honeycutt's a freshman, 24 home runs. You look at it, if Tommy White is in the ACC and tearing it up for North Carolina State, this guy's probably freshman of the year. But Honeycutt's good. They got another guy, Alberto Acuna. I think that's how you say his name. He's got 20 home runs. But you look at both of those guys, they both have 80-plus strikeouts, which is just that's the definition of a power hitter. Is he's either going to hit a home run or strike out for the most part. So, but I think that North Carolina, they've got some guys at the top that are hitting 360-plus, but then it really drops off there at the bottom of the lineup. And that's one thing that Arkansas has over them is that Arkansas's lineup is pretty consistent from top to bottom. I mean, Jalen Battles is usually hitting 7-8, and he's a guy that he can go up to the plate and get you a clutch hit whenever you need it. I don't know if North Carolina has a guy like that. I haven't watched enough of them to really know. But I just look at, they've got guys hitting 270, 260 down at the bottom of the lineup, and their OBP isn't that great either. So at least Arkansas has a guy at the bottom of the lineup, it's Zach Gregory, and that he's probably going to get on base at least once or twice a game. So I think that the Hogs have that on top of North Carolina. Plus, I mean, yeah, they hit a lot of home runs, but I mean, what are the dimensions of their ballpark? I don't even know. Maybe their ballpark is hitter-friendly.
Could be.
Partners at BetOnline continue to be the #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, including updated odds on the NBA playoffs, fights, and even next season's futures. And don't forget that the MLB is back as well. Who are you picking to win the World Series? BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino and poker games. It's super easy to get started. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to join and use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.